Oh, Scott, what's going on?
I'm fortifying the dojo.
What? Did you cut the legs off the gaming table?
Yeah, they'll grow back. I got your text about the world being cast into darkness, masquerading vampires, and a werewolf apocalypse.
Put your glasses on and read the text again.
Aaron, Jerry, yeah.
We're talking Modern Horde Adventures this week on the Dungeon Masters Dojo.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Dungeon Masters Dojo podcast. This is a show for game masters, as well as experienced and new players alike. We hope to bring you the tools needed to not only be a great GM, but to help you develop as a player. I'm your host, Louis Aponte. Our stars of the show are Scott Labby and Bill Robotile. Let's enter the dojo and see what both Bill and Scott have in store for us today.
Happy Halloween, fellow DMs, GMs, referees, judges, game operations directors, and all their varieties of storytellers. This is Aaron.
And Jared from the Level Up Your Gaming podcast, and this is the Dungeon Masters Dojo.
How's everything going, Jared and Aaron?
It's going good. How are you guys? It's good to see you again.
Oh, it's awesome. And thanks for joining us.
As always, thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining. Yes, it's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and this is a perfect opportunity to have you guys on because this is our Halloween special. And you are the horror guys, so who better?
Well, Jared's the main horror guy. I mean, he knows what he's doing with the horror genre.
I love horror. Everything about it.
As do I.
Before we get into things, let's just mention a little bit about the Level Up Your Gaming podcast. Go check them out. New episodes drop every Wednesdays. And follow them on the Facebook at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming.
So, why modern and horror? What's the draw for you guys?
Jared, how do you go first?
Okay, I was gonna give you the privilege. So why modern and why horror? Modern, all of my players have always said, Jared, you can't do a game without Glocks and Ferraris.
I have a T-shirt that says the same thing.
You know what? It's oh man, I'm going to be embarrassed, but I'm going to let you guys in on a deep-seated secret of why I fear doing ancient times.
We won't tell anyone.
Except for all the listeners.
Thank you. Excellent. We're going to keep this a secret between you, me, and your hundreds of thousands of listeners.
You've heard it here, folks.
So
do
you know
tell.
what's honest?
Go.
In my mind's eye, I have a difficulty picturing the clothing of the period.
You haven't gone to enough Ren fairs.
I haven't. I've been to one my entire life. I think one, maybe two, my entire life. I have such difficulty with it, and it's embarrassingly stupid, but it's the truth. And so that's why the modern is such a draw to me, is because I live in it, I experience it, I know what's going on every day. A vast geopolitical system, telecommunications, globalization. There's a lot that's going on in this space. Not that there isn't in sci-fi or in ye olden days or even the Wild West. There's a lot to that, and any storyteller, DM, GM can bring that into their game. But to an extent, I really like the idea of my Glock. I love my Glocks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, one, I think it's an easy genre to relate to. Modern times, we all live in it, so it's easy to kind of put yourself in it and envision what the world looks like. I think that there's a nice thing about the fantasy genre in that, we have enough visualization in, movies and other representation in books that you can kind of work yourself into that. But the modern genre is something that, just is very easy to relate to. And Jared just has a knack for telling in it. Jared has tried telling stories that do not have guns, and they tend to go off the rails, and he just tends to lose interest much, much faster than you would hope him to lose interest in the games.
Did you ever do any like D&D stuff?
Yeah. I think. Oh, do you mean if I've storytelled? I've played in it. Never really. I've tried to storytell. It wasn't very successful, and it didn't last very long. Probably 2-3 sessions at most. Yeah.
We've all played in it. I mean, it's one of those things that I think right now I'm playing in a D&D campaign with another group of friends. Just trying to kind of broaden my horizons here and try some different things. And you guys were gracious enough to have us for the hybrid gaming session, which was really nice. So it was just good to kind of experience some different game systems and that haven't been D10 World of Darkness that we've been kind of playing in.
Yeah, that was a good time.
That was a real good time. We had a blast with that. See, I'm one of those people that I will jump from a game system to a game system in a drop of a hat because I've played so many over the decades. See, unlike the rest of you, I remember the Renaissance. I lived through it. So, the clothing and things like that is not a big deal for me.
He's wearing his codpiece right now.
I wear it all the time. If you're going to have something jewel encrusted, let it hang out there.
Just encrusted.
Or just encrusted. So, yeah, I love jumping game systems. Some people will be it's like, no, I play only this one or only these two. I'll play anything that's thrown out in front of me and have a blast with it.
I think that's good for like always a good way to freshen up kind of the monotony of the game system. We started with Palladium, like you guys. I know you guys were big into Palladium for a long time. We started there with Heroes Unlimited and Rifts and all those different ones when we were growing up. And Jared pulled out World of Darkness one day, second ed Werewolf, and that was the start down the path.
That was the start down the horror path.
Now, you guys mentioned World of Darkness a lot. Have you upgraded to Chronicles of Darkness? And any of the changes that came with that?
No. Okay, I'll be open and honest. When I saw Chronicles of Darkness, I saw it as a pitch for money. Reskin something that really was well done. It just seemed like, because we have done so much homebrew and so many changes ourselves, we really didn't see a need for the reskin and the different dice system. I feel like White Wolf and the D10 system provides a complete enough package. There's only like a few areas where I feel like they could improve on their rules section, namely wilderness survival, because you need to know when your character's going to freeze to death.
It helps.
Helpful thing to know. But really, their combat is quick, it's brutal, it's very much like combat in real life, and it's really, I feel like they've got a very solid system. So when they came out with all that stuff, all I saw was, here, guys, try to purchase another bundle, and I was like, nope. Well,
I can relate to that too, because we played 2.5, 2.0, 2.5 for ever and ever and ever, and it wasn't until they went back to 5 where they went back to rules light and role play heavy that we decided to jump ship and try it, and it harkens all the way back to the original set where your rules light and role play heavy, and that now we've glommed onto it. Of course, now you're starting to see books come out and books come out and books come out. So there, that engine's going to start.
You're on that treadmill again.
That treadmill's going to start up real fast, and then and down the tracks you go. But I was just curious because I picked up the Chronicles of Darkness because I had the World of Darkness already, and I picked up the Chronicles just to see what the changes were going to be, like I do like my modules and things like that. I'll read material, and then I'll glean from it what I want and then incorporate it into the world that I have. So you answered the question, and then you stepped right into the next one. Do you blend campaign settings in your home brew, and how do you approach that? We already know you're firmly entrenched in World of Darkness. Have you pulled anything out of any of the game systems and revamped it for yours?
I'm actually going to let Aaron take this one because he actually started off the detective series and what it's been growing into. So I'm going to let Aaron take that.
Well, so what happened was we played World of Darkness. We kind of jumped around between several different systems. We played some Star Wars. We did some Aberrant. We did Scion. We did a bunch of different ones, which are all kind of in the same realm of the D20 system, the D10 system, and the D20 system in the case of Star Wars. And with the World of Darkness, if you've ever played it, what you're going to notice when you try to mix two books together is that nothing plays well in the sandbox together. It's just not designed for werewolves and vampires don't mix, and mages don't mix well with any of them. And then hunters are just a whole different thing on their own side. I mean, like I don't think we've ever told a successful hunter campaign.
Actually, I have.
Well, I'm gonna have to pick your brain on that sometime. We've never been able to do it. But the interesting thing is that I think after we finished a major mage campaign, and I was talking like 3 years of like kind of there's three different chronicles over 3 years. Jared said, I'm sick of not being able to put my things in the sandbox that I want to put in the sandbox together. And so that's where he kind of came up with this idea of the world of the Night Folk. And from that, he kind of had the motivation to change the power sets between vampires and werewolves and kind of their motivations behind the world, and not have this kind of apocalyptic setting that you're kind of driving to. Like he effectively started writing his own little blurbs and sections to kind of build a world of kind of magic around, and supernatural around the system itself. So what we did is we said, well, we like the core rules of how the game plays with the D10 system. Let's just use the D10 system and let's play with our own world. Let's create our own world and kind of homebrew our own thing. And so, thankfully with like the 20th anniversary of some of these books that came out for the World of Darkness, they really consolidated a lot of the rules to one place that you could find them. And once you have that, you kind of have a wealth of how the system plays, and then we can just add our own stuff on top of that.
That's when you really begin to own a game, I think, is when you start looking at the game and making it your own. You're using the rule sets for the most part, but then you're going, you know what, I think our game needs a little more of this and a little less of that, and that's when you really own the game. Yeah, you use the engine and you provide all the cars.
Exactly.
If you're going to jump on the tracks and buy the material, and like you said, jump on the rails and it goes one way, well, okay, that's fine. But I'm going to use the engine, but I'm going to build my own cars, and we can appreciate that because we've done something similar as well. For our own world, we used the fifth edition engine and then built our own world around it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid engine. I mean, why break the engine? I mean, just put your own tires on it and skin out the car the way you like it. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So how long has your current campaign been going on, and how long do you see it going?
Let's see, Aaron, 2 years?
About 2.5 years into it right now. So go ahead, Jared.
No. So it's been about 2.5 years, and honestly, I see it going much further. We've really designed like this really unique world. So when Aaron storytells, because we do collaborative storytelling, which is we rotate on and off storytellers. So, for example, our buddy Brian will storytell, I'll storytell, Aaron will storytell, and there are different stories within the same universe with the same characters. I mean, honestly, Aaron just ended a game a story last week, and he left it on such a cliffhanger that I have thought about coming over his house and threatening him to ask him what his plans are.
Job well done. Job well done.
It was such an immense cliffhanger that I don't even want to do my game because I just want to do, or I don't want to do my story because I want to get to Aaron's story because I want to know what his plan is, because it was such a cliffhanger, and it's really interesting because most of these games are ending on cliffhangers, and so we're all waiting for the next part of their story, and so I see this one going on for years.
Oh, so you make them wait?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So the way it worked out was that when we started doing we call it our detective series. You probably heard us talk about it on the podcast before, but the way it worked out is that we finished a mage game that ended with a failure condition. So total party wipe, basically, at the end of it, more or less. And Jared's brother was playing with us we had a couple remote players. So Brian's remote and Jared's brother's girlfriend's remote. And we had Dave, who is local, but he never came over for whatever reason. I don't know why. But
he's much more comfortable with his own.
But Jared's brother said, hey, why don't we do this rotating storyteller thing where everybody tells a story and it's kind of a detective noir, this kind of world and feeling to it. And so I'm like, I don't know, like, what if somebody really doesn't want to tell a story? You've got players in your group who just are not like, I guess, who don't feel confident enough to tell a story within it. And hopefully our podcast will make you feel like you could tell a story. That's the whole point of them, right?
So, we're trying to. We're trying to.
But so we're like, okay, just make them like real short stories, like 2 to 5 sessions, so on and so forth. So I pick up the first one. I don't think it's anything spectacular. It's just a little 2 to 5 session story. But it takes those characters, and every other story is now just a little bit in the future of that story. So after you finished healing, after you finished whatever, the detectives get their next thing. It's a lot like Supernatural in that aspect. And that just really took off. And Jared took the next story, and then I took the one after that, and then our friend Ken took a story, and then Brian took a story. And so it really got people who never told stories in our group to pick up and actually tell stories. And we basically said, you can use whatever elements that we've presented within the world. Nothing I have given in my game is exclusive to me. Just pick up what I've done, and if you like something that I threw out in my game, incorporate it in yours and make it something else. Fill in the holes within our world that we're kind of building together.
Nice.
We did something not entirely dissimilar from that not long ago.
Yeah.
It's funny too how well that works. It's kind of like your players are almost like 10-year-olds at dinner time. It's like, I don't like broccoli. All right, just have 3 little pieces of broccoli. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, I can manage 3 pieces of broccoli. This is all right. And I think they see those little short stories, those little pulpy short story things is, just a little bit of broccoli. I could choke it down. That's not that bad. And that's how you get them to really take more and more and more on.
Yeah, they take the reins, and then the next time, like, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. And maybe I'll have 4 pieces of broccoli this time, and it nurtures. Well, it nurtures their skills, their confidence, which is huge. And that's one of the biggest obstacles is people just don't feel confident about it. They watch other people game master and storytell, and they're like, wow, these guys are freaking awesome. There's no way I could do that. But then you get these little chips and tidbits here, and they're like, well, and we all pat them on the back. Great job. I like this part. I like that part. And it bolsters them, and they're willing to do it again, and then maybe again, and their parts get a little bigger. Not that we're making it bigger for them. They're willing to make it bigger themselves. And before long, you've nurtured yet another storyteller.
And when you say we did that, probably right before COVID, we were doing like every other week, somebody would take over, do a quick one shot.
Yes.
And I think that helped, somebody like me, a couple other, Marcus and Mike. Well, Mike is a different story. He just brought the whole table and just laid it out for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think that what you just said is, that's how we build up our confidence, because at least in my eyes and some of the other guys playing, running under you guys, you guys set the bar up here. And our thoughts, like, how can we ever touch that?
Well, you don't know until you reach
that bar.
Yeah, you don't need
it's about working your way up to that level. I mean, they've been doing it for 30 years. I mean, like, you've got, and if you have always been the DM of your group, you are well practiced in the art of, improvising and telling the story and managing the table and flowing with the story. And when you're a player who's playing under that, and if you've been playing under for a decade, 2 decades, however long it's been, it's just you look at that and you go, how could I ever do it? Well, if you're like, just tell a good story, just tell a good 1-2 session story, tell that a couple times, and then you start feeling pretty confident where you're like, hey, I could tell something a little bit bigger than that. I could tell something a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah, but I think
and it's worked for us.
Yeah, a lot of us are saying we're ready to take the bigger chair now, not just the big chair.
And we're ready for it too.
Hell yeah.
We got to cultivate these youngins before dementia hits and I forget how to do everything.
What was that? I didn't hear
it. Yeah, you said you guys use the same characters in 3 different stories? So,
yes, we all have.
So we did something very similar, but what we let it do is make 3 characters, and every time we started a new story, you could choose amongst the 3 characters you have for this one city. And the city started with just a main street, And then everyone is told a piece of story would add something to it and add something to it. And the city was getting larger and larger and larger because people would build parts along with their story, and we'd add it to the world. And if you got a half dozen people at your table and everyone goes, well, the next story, I'm going to play my same character, and one person changes their character, the dynamic of the entire table changes. And it's
I like
fun.
that idea.
And and we started baseline 0, 1 experience point type deal. And everyone builds them up slowly. And it also gives you that sense of feeling like your character is being built from scratch because you're not moving quickly. 3 game sessions, I'm 5th level. Yay, now I can do cool shit. But you missed the building part, where you built contacts and relationships and enemies. And that's what they're mired in. They love this stuff. So we went very similar to you, but instead of changing the story, we changed the character and the story. Or you had the ability to change a character. Or you can just stay with your one character and build them. Several people have done that. I'm going to stay with my one character. And yeah, they progress further than everyone else, but not by much because we don't throw a lot of experience points out there. So it's like, okay, my character's at 1st level, mine's at 3rd. But you'll need that one strong character. And the difference is not so huge that everyone feels outclassed. And that's how we went about it.
I like it. No, I like that.
It's not copyrighted. You can use it.
You can use it. Jared, we can make separate characters.
And everyone likes making characters.
That's the fun part.
That's the fun part is making. And we challenge everybody to make things they've never made before. Try a race, a class, a skill set, a gender that you've never played before, and give it a try. And if you don't like it, well, don't use that character. You have 2 others.
The good thing about short stories is that you can change the characters pretty quick.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you guys determine like who's gonna run the next game? Do you wait for someone to just jump in, or do you kind of have it plotted out?
I wish we could say we had some complex system, but we don't. Generally, it's Aaron will say like, I'm running this game. I got an idea for a game. And really, I'll just keep running mine. And at the end of my game, typically Aaron or Brian or both have a game ready to go. And they're just like, hey, I want to run mine. But if both of them do, we just kind of have a discussion. Just like, okay, who wants to run theirs first? And they go to it. And typically, one of my problems is storyteller ADHD. I come up with about 6 stories while I'm standing in the shower and about 3 more when I use the toilet.
What is it about gamers and showers? As we look over at Scott, who goes, I was standing in the shower. I get these phone calls all the time. It's like, why do I need to hear that part? That's a visual I don't want.
It's key.
It's my creative space. Nobody bothers me.
I don't know how many times I've heard, I was in the shower. I don't need to hear that part.
Oh, sorry. The rotation of the GM typically ends up going where Jared's getting close to finishing a game, or maybe we can kind of see the light in the horizon, and so that's typically the indication that you got to get your butt in gear and kind of get one ready for the next week. Every now and then, there's always breaks between games here and there, but for the most part, we try to game about every week, and for that kind of schedule, you kind of see how long somebody has it. And Jared will throw out a prediction I think my game's probably going to go 4 sessions. Okay, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. We could break his game in 1 session, or we could look lost for 8. So it's just kind of gives you a gauge on how long you have to kind of develop and work on your next game.
Well, I'm sure more than once you've broken into rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock to figure out who's going to do the next one.
So with World of Darkness, we all know that it has a high mortality rate. So do you guys get attached to your characters? And if there's any mortality with the characters, how do you handle characters' deaths?
So, okay, absolutely. World of Darkness, you can get hit by a single round from an assault rifle, and you go from healthy to literally dead on one perfect roll. So my players, very fortunately, have learned very quickly to take cover first, before shooting back. So mortality is definitely a thing in White Wolf. It does not leave a whole lot of room for error in the combats. So do I get attached to my characters? The one character that I'm playing now, I'm very attached to, mainly because Brian and I have been the characters in two of Aaron's games now, and our characters really have like a good click. You know how it is when you have a party that's really clicking.
Oh yeah,
and our magic. Characters just really, it is like our characters. It feels like they've known each other for 50 years. You know, when we just developed these characters, a few months ago, they just really snap well together. If my character dies, unfortunately, these things they happen in White Wolf, and they happen out on the street. A single stray catches you, and that turns out your lights. So handling character deaths is a very complicated thing, and Aaron's already, we discuss in our podcast a lot, and I will totally just admit this on your podcast. I cheat so often as a storyteller. Oh my God. I roll the dice behind my hand before we used computers. Now that we use computers, I use the GM roll whenever I remember to, because a lot of times I don't. But I cheat. I save my character's life by like 1 health point so they can, gurgling their bloody gurgles and crawling forward to their friends while gunfire tears around them is such a better story than, boom, lights went out.
Way better.
I mean, look at the ending part of The Sopranos. No one liked that.
No one liked that. Everyone hated it.
Yep.
It's so much better, when you've got the heroic story at the end. The hero gets mangled and walks away with the war wound. Will I knock people out with their stupidity? Yeah. Someone makes a dumb move and decides to stand up while somebody's, emptying a belt-fed magazine in their general direction. Yeah, I'll clip you for that. I might not save your life for that.
I'd rip off a limb in a heartbeat.
Exactly. Rip off a limb, let him scream there for a little bit.
It's happened.
And generally, typically, it's interesting when characters players get war wounds like that. You'll see them a lot of times be like, I don't want to play. We discussed, actually, I think on one of our last podcasts, Aaron and I discussed, one of our old friends. Whenever his character took any sort of blemish, new character, he would retire his own character. I wouldn't even have to work on it. But with World of Darkness, I will say this: when I first started storytelling World of Darkness, I came at it with the same. Okay, you lose a character, remake a character as Palladium. We were young, and remaking character wasn't a big deal. But as we got older, and I realized that as a storyteller, I completely formulated this out of my own selfishness. Bringing a character, so werewolf, they center themselves around packs, right. Vampires around coteries, so like groups. How the hell do I get this character in there? Like, shit, they've been together for 3 years. They're not going to send some newbie into the group or somebody that they don't know into the group. And it's exceedingly difficult. So I started cheating on my players' behalves, not only to make a great story, but, to make my life a little bit easier. I'll be honest. And that's how I deal with a lot of lethality. And it's, when a character dies, I do attempt to make it as it depends on the situation. When a character dies, if they're dying from their own stupidity, I'll clip you and that's it. I'll move on, pop, move on. And, if I'm clipping you because you're doing something epic, I'll give you that epic death. You know what I mean? I'll break into the cinematics mode and let's make this something. Because then your player walks away from the experience like, I died, but I died a great death.
And that's huge for the story, right? You have a choice between Tywin Lannister getting shot on the shitter or Boromir going down, in that epic badass fashion. And
kaboom! Right there.
Grown men cry when Boromir goes down, no matter how many times you see it. But everybody's like, "Oh man, Tywin got it on the crapper. That's humiliating." That's no way to go. You want to go big.
Exactly, and it's so that's character death is literally just as you described it. It's the Tywin Lannister, and generally that's my players acting out of a very, they're being an idiot, and I'll take it. And but typically I don't have to deal with that a lot because my players understand the lethality of my games. They understand that a single shotgun shell could take you out. And my players have adapted. They've really become quite the tacticians in their own right.
We really learned the hard way.
Yeah, yeah,
We did too one night.
Right, yeah. Lou's mentioned how he learned the lethality of White Wolf system when he shot Scott.
Yeah. So
Lou learned the lesson.
Lou's a jerk
because he killed Scott's character.
When the wild card kills a party member, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
It is surprisingly mortal.
Yeah, there's a whole story to that incident, but we won't go into. That's a long story.
Are you sure you don't want to share? Come on, we got time.
I think a lot of people would be upset.
Not me. I think it's funny as hell.
But yeah, that was my first real play into World of Darkness, and Scott did something, and I was like, we're playing in the 1800s too, I think.
Yes.
So we didn't have all the medical and the know-how that we have of modern times. So Scott suffered for quite a while.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
I've been suffering at the hands of Lou for 30 years now, so.
A gunshot? That is that
Piece
all?
of cake.
That was just a bullet.
Yeah.
So with that said, of all the tabletop RPG options, why did you choose World of Darkness? What brought you to it?
Well, I mean,
besides the Ferraris and Glocks.
Besides Ferraris and Glocks, was it your penchant for the macabre?
You know what it was? I wish that I was drawn to it in some way, shape, or form. But you know what? It's a familiar story that I think a lot of us are familiar with. Our older brothers, our siblings, they're playing it, and what do? We follow the leader. My older brother started playing White Wolf with his friend, Ken, who still plays with us. So they played a game, and they welcomed his dumbass little brother to join them. We ended up playing a game. I ended up having a great time. I had my own group already. We're playing Palladium, and I'm just like, this is awesome. Werewolves, come on. And werewolves have always been. If you got to go Team Edward versus Team whatever his name was,
Jacob,
the werewolf
don't ask
one.
me how I know that.
Okay, there you go. Hey, don't worry. Team Jacob. I'm Team Jacob. I'm Team Werewolf. I've always have been. I think they're such cool creatures. Terrifying. Probably been terrified of werewolves since Silver Bullet. If anybody remembers that.
That was a good one.
That movie.
Yeah.
Love that.
That was a good movie.
And so, I was like, this is freaking awesome. The art in the books is just grabbing, And so we started playing it, and, then we branched out into Vampire, which, more grabbing. But, I think we went with this system, for me at least, World of Darkness, because it was probably the first game that we got serious with and stopped going with the childhood. All right, you're a group of mercenaries you meet in a bar, and started moving into you're a group of people brought together for a purpose, your, destiny or random act. And really we blossomed from there. I think we've stuck with it for so long is because of just how much, my players, myself, other storytellers have put into evolving the story and everything involved in that, the emotion, the upping it, leveling up our gaming, there's the shameless plug, Aaron. I was going to give him one tonight. I was going to give him one shameless plug. Aaron is the shameless plug master. So, we really got into stories that got so emotional and they got gripping, and just I think we fell into it and we never let it go. But I want to hear Aaron's. What
again? So as a player in pretty much all the games, you kind of go where your DM tells you to go, or where your GM tells you to go. He's the one who was willing to tell the stories, and he brought it to us. And I think we really enjoyed the first game that we played with it. I think we liked. I mean, rules are rules, but I think just the way that he kind of first told that first story with the werewolves, I thought it was very cool. And I think he was right. It was just a definite change in maturity from the games that we were telling, which were just off the wall, crazy Palladium games. And we kind of moved into this world of werewolves and vampires. And I mean, it was probably 3 or 4 big games into it. Jared finally hit his stride, and he finally told like the first, I would call it the first complete campaign that we ever really told. And that was back in like high school. And it was the ending to it. I mean, we've referenced it before. We call it Elders. The ending to it was so emotional. We just wanted to see how much further we could take vampires and mage and all the other ones that we haven't done before, as we kind of go through that world. So I mean, we just, again, and that's what he was storytelling. So I kind of had to stick with it.
They were the slut attached to the back of my pickup truck.
I know that sometimes the way you're brought into the game can latch you, for a good long time. My very first time I played any of the WOD was the Masquerade, and I was handed a pre-gen, and it was face down. Yeah, and he said no one gets to turn their characters over just yet. He says, but he gave an intro to everybody and how they were turned, and I was a businessman, lost tens of thousands of millions of dollars. I'm on the 52nd floor of a skyrise and decided to just take one more step. And about a quarter of the way down, I looked over and there's someone following me, like right alongside of me. And by the time I hit the bottom, I'm Malkavian. And it's like, okay, this is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Then I get to flip my character over, and it's like, oh, so you gave the crazy old man the crazy character. Great. I'm gonna have fun with this. He goes, yeah, I figured you would. That's why I gave it to you. But I mean, that was the first introduction to the WD for me, and I really enjoy this system. I would like to play it more. But the guys, I mean, let's face it, D&D's our staple, and we love it, and that's what we'll probably go back to. But if there's a chance to play any of the WOD, and no matter what it is, including Hunters, I'll play it all. I'll play it all because I enjoy the genre as well. For me, it's not a Glock, it's a Sig Sauer. But the Ferrari I get along with.
6226, nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, I enjoy the system. I know we've had a lot of fun with it with the guys. It's been usually like 2, 3, 4, episodes, and that's about it. We do a lot.
Nice taste. Of WOD. I usually around
this time.
This time is when we start like our run, and
very often we almost always have a Halloween special that goes on for 3, 4, 5 weeks. That's all wrapped around WOD. So. We're getting ready to.
Awesome.
Normally we'd be queuing that up right about now, or pretty darn close to it. We'll see what happens. It's going to be. You may have to do this remotely, but which is too bad.
We're gonna take a break for a word about our sponsors, and we are back with Aaron and Jared from the Level Up Your Gaming podcast.
Thank you.
So, how do you guys craft a modern horror campaign for your game? What's your formula?
Okay, my formula. Number one, I love music. Bringing music and sound into my games has amplified the terror of my players to exponential heights. At least I'm hoping it does. Aaron, does it spook you a little bit more?
It really does. Yes, you've upped your horror game consistently over time, and I'm not joking. The game that we did, we brought up the Wendigo game. There was a night that I left your house, and I was like, there a freaking Wendigo out here? Like, I was sure of it. I was like, I'm gonna get attacked by like a wolf or something.
So, honestly, creature bellows are fantastic, especially when you go to nature to find certain things. Like the Call of the Wendigo was actually a variation of an elk sound. Going to nature and finding some of the scary things out there, hyenas' laughters, just some of the weird, creepy sounds that
I got one for you. You have to use. Look up a crying fox.
Ooh.
Or a screeching owl.
A crying fox sounds just like a crying baby in pain.
Or an elderly woman. Yeah, I had one not long ago. I was like, oh, I don't know if I need to get my gun and go into the woods, but the fat security guys always bite it first in horror movies, so I'll just lock the door.
He's got a point. They usually do.
We were out having a little on a fire pit, and we heard a screeching owl, and we were like, "What the hell is that?" Because it sounded like an injured horse, whinnying. That really kind of spooked us all. It was kind of dark out anyway.
And it's because, and I go off on my weird tangent about this because it's embedded in us. It's humanity, stretches back thousands of years to the time when we didn't have fire and we couldn't see what was eating us in the dark. So sounds can inspire in us an instinctual response, and also with the darkness itself. When I formulate horror stories, I try to focus on reducing visibility as much as possible. When my players look out, is there snow obstructing? Is there forest obstructing? Is there just pitch darkness? And my players nowadays, and Aaron will confirm this with wholeheartedly, I don't think his character goes anywhere without a knife and a flashlight nowadays. Reducing visibility, bringing that darkness, it inspires that instinctual part of the human condition of, we go back to an area where we didn't have fire because, and I used some of Roll20's tools to help with this. I used their dynamic lighting system. So my players couldn't literally see outside of a 10 by 10 circle. Was very effective until, Aaron went back to his car, or his character went back to his car, picked up the rifle that had a thermal scope, and suddenly he's seeing 20/20.
Gotta love when the characters cheat.
Yep. Oh, he cheated.
I'm sorry. Utilize their resources.
Yes.
Oh, so the thermal scope came because of the Wendigo game. I didn't have it until the Wendigo game.
And then he was like, "No, I'm going to see this guy's body heat." And of course, it didn't give off body heat, but still. So really, sound, visual is a big thing. Suspense. So that sound and giving that moment of pause between you and action. So, for example, I might say you slowly peer open the door. All you see is the bottom of the abyss, the never-ending black. And then I'll pause, and then, it comes out of the darkness, So it's really letting their imagination, and this is one of my final points. It's actually, even though I recently listened to another podcast about how much Alfred Hitchcock was not a good man, he does have a good rule. Never show the monster until the last 30 seconds or last 5 minutes or little bit. It's because whatever your players come up with their imaginations is 10 times more terrifying than you can create.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I agree.
And really that's what I come to with my horror formula is I focus on darkness, suspense, sound, and letting their imaginations run wild. I mean, in the Wendigo game that Aaron talks about, and that I'm very, very proud of. That's one of those games that if I could make a trophy for it, I'd put it on the trophy shelf. Because trust me, I got a lot of games that would not go on that shelf. I got a lot of games that you guys ask about, and you just see me kind of pushing stuff into the closet and closing the door with my foot. Like I never did a game that did that. But the Wendigo game, really, I had amped my players up to a point of paranoia where they didn't even know. They stopped trusting other NPCs NPC allies they stopped trusting, and
Nice.
that's really when I hit that.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's good. Yeah.
You know, and they invented something after that called the trust tree. And it's been ongoing. We've never stopped having the trust tree now. Is he in the trust tree? I don't know. I don't know yet. So
what is this trust tree that you're talking about? I want to hear what it's about.
Aaron,
Because Lou wouldn't be on it.
Yeah. Lou's going to see if he can cut it down.
It was just a way to identify which NPCs we thought we could trust versus the ones that we couldn't trust, because Jared really did a good. I think his goal for the game was to try to set up a scene of isolation and kind of decay in the world, and instead we got this sense of like massive paranoia and like the feeling of like terror that we are in a foreign land essentially, and we don't speak the language. They're the primary language. And we think everybody could be in on this murder. Like, and we're now here, just a bunch of private investigators just wandering around. And if you've ever seen the movie Wind River,
yep,
that's sort of what he kind of based the game on, or that kind of setting on an Indian reservation. And it was he just did such a good job. And he had so many different points to it. And he had storylines on it that if you had gone down a rabbit hole, you could have been gone for days and days and days, just terrifying yourself about different stuff that was happening there. But one of the things that he did really well, and Jared didn't bring this up, but he always says to make something really creepy, take something that's normal to you and just turn it a little bit. So if it's just a little off, that's really creepy. That's the thing that makes your hairs stand up. When, you know, like I said, when you walk out into a pitch black room, like you're supposed to be able to see, and just, you know, everything's fine, but just your hairs stand up just a little bit, and just you start thinking about like just you know, that like the cry of the screeching owl that you mentioned.
Aaron found out. I was stupidly told Aaron the only like horror thing that freaks me out is that spider walk like you see in The Exorcist.
Oh yeah,
and like. So now, like every game, that's like Aaron's goal. All right, how am I going to put the spider walk in here so I can scare Jared shitless?
All right, so now let's see if we can get one of you up on a soapbox. What's your GMing style or philosophy? What are you shooting for? What's the core? Now you've touched on a few bases there, but it's soapbox time.
So soapbox time, philosophical is I tend to get off on a little. Get off. That was get off of your soapbox towards the end of our podcasts every once in a while, and we'd be with Guru Jared. So in the end, I came up with really there was two tenets when it comes down to making decisions in storytelling. One, does it increase the story? And two, does it increase the fun? For me, I realized my emotional kick from storytelling is the fun that my players are having. It's the laughs. It's the time spent together. It's the fact that Aaron and I have been friends literally since swimming lessons. Brian, Aaron, and I have all been friends since the 6th grade. I'm now 35, and we still talk, on a weekly basis, if not twice a week, about whether or not it's game related or related to life. It keeps us together and connected. And I forgot to turn off my phone, so my wife's texting me.
Tell her we said hi.
That, I will. She's probably like, "That's so beautiful."
Why weren't our wedding vows that nice?
Right. So for me, the goal of all gaming is creating those moments, those memories, and bonds of friendship that last for decades, literally decades. And how cool is that? How magnificent is that? In sports, there comes a day when your knees wear out and you can't do that no more. And I don't see that. That doesn't happen with role playing. It just, you can keep going.
It gets better.
Exactly.
Because you have more life experiences to bring to the, forward for your character to enrich it. So.
Yes. And as you get older, it's like a fine wine. You more refined and get better at it. You know, like the story, I look back at the stories that I wrote when I was, you know, I don't know, 10, 11, 12. And I'm like, oh my God. Then again, I'm proud I put together a cognitive thought. But I look at the stories now.
Welcome to my world.
Right. You know, back then it was all shoot, bang, 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 no consequences. And now I get to build these whole worlds that are so filled with emotion. I tackle, in my stories, I try to tackle different themes, you know, even stuff that we deal with in everyday life. You know, one of the themes that I'm tackling in one of our upcoming stories is going to be, there's a story behind every door. It's because in this game I've created over 59 NPCs and we haven't even done day one. I have 59 NPCs, 26 different maps, and we haven't even done day one yet. And there's a story behind every door, and it's a human story.
It's called OCD.
You know, I mean, yes.
No, that's not bad. We all have it. Trust me.
On the note, I'm the one who actually has it clinically. I actually take 2 pills a day for that one.
One for the O and one for the D. The C just kind of run with it.
The C, you know, no, the C's the worst. I'll take the D. But yeah, my philosophy in gaming, my storytelling style, I guess, I would say I focus mostly on horror and story driven narrative. That I try to give my players as much options and much choices as they can have, where they can walk down an alley. Because one of our buddies, Nick, who you know, unfortunately doesn't game with us anymore, but you know, he's got a family now, he's got a job that keeps him away, and he said that he played role playing because it's like playing video games without the control. You can go anywhere he wants, and I've always kept that close, giving my players options, letting them explore a world, you know, that even if it's modern nights and the world of darkness, you know, the world of darkness gives us that world to explore, even though we know the city of, you know, New York, we know Los Angeles, we know Chicago, we know, you know, all these cities, but it's in the dark alleyways. It's in those creepy areas that are the tingling and the hairs on the back of our neck tells us not to go in. There are stories there, you know, and with the world of darkness,
there's so much more to the city than Main Street and Elm.
Right?
That's true.
You know, it's and there are just so many stories and so many places you can walk that literally the possibility for your players is endless. And it's in that endless journey together that, you know, bonds of friendship keep for years and years.
And
now
that's
I will
absolutely
get off
true.
my soapbox.
There you go.
It's true, because we have a similar story. Like, I look back to when I first met Lewis, and you know, his hair was all one color and I had hair. You know, it was how long ago it was. You know, and it's been,
believe it or not.
Yeah, you know, it's the game brought all of our group of friends together, and we've known each other now longer than we have not, and that's a pretty special thing.
Yeah, think about it. There's not many humans out there who can say that.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful tool for building relationships and
keeping them
and keeping them. Yeah.
Yeah, bringing new players into your table, meeting new people, experiencing new things. Again, Jared's right. It's all about having fun with your players. When Lewis talked about it, like it's about getting together with the guys every weekend. When we had you on our podcast, I agree with him wholeheartedly. Like it's more about being together with Jared and Brian and Ken and whoever else is at the table that night and having a good time than it is about, I'm the GM and I'm going to tell my story and you guys are going to walk through it, and if you don't do it right, it's not good. Like it's not that. It's more about if the players walk away from that night and they're going, oh my God, I can't believe this happened, I can't believe that happened. Like that's the best feeling you can get as a GM, and as a player, that's the best, I think, compliment you can give your GM.
Yeah.
Well, I know when they walk out of the cellar here when we have one of our games, and they spend another half an hour standing in the driveway talking about the game. That's when you know you've had a good game.
That's a good time.
That's when you know you've done right.
Well, right up until the point where my wife usually throws the window open the rest of the way going, "Will you sons of bitches shut up. I'm trying to sleep." And then it's like, "Well, guys, time to go home." And I need to go in there and quell the wrath of the dragon. But see you next week.
You've already kind of told us a lot about your group, but how do you manage the different personalities? You got a gaming table full of different personalities and, people who want different things out of their game. How do you guys approach the management of that as in your case, as a storyteller?
Fortunately, the personalities in our table, it's actually interesting because politically, it's funny. I'm just gonna. It's a very interesting thing to me. Our friend Brian is very politically different than Aaron and I, and yet we never get in an argument about it. Not that we don't talk about it. It's that we're there for game and we're all friends and we all love each other. We're family, and we're never going to let stupid stuff like that get in the way. So when it comes to managing personalities at the table, it's focus on the friendships, focus on the areas, just like any marriage or any relationship, there's give and take, there's 50-50, and there's two people that have to work towards that relationship being something special. And that's not to be in a weird way, with friends. It takes something, and it takes sometimes a conversation that's crappy, and sometimes it takes a conversation that's fantastic. And managing personalities around the table I'm blessed. I'm just downright blessed with the people that I play with, my friends. It's very easy for me. We have welcomed other people into our table that, I wish that we could have found a way to help them or to be more in sync with everybody. But, sometimes it just, unfortunately, it doesn't work out. Those are opportunities that just didn't foster. They didn't come to fruition.
No, we ran into that a few times ourselves.
Yeah, and everyone does, and you can't beat yourself up. You can't, oh my God, we didn't get the one player. It's. But at the core, our group is founded on good friendships and good times and laughs and jokes and and really that's what it takes to can you have a good time and can you share a world with us and that's really what it comes down to.
I think we ask that question a lot because I think we're in a situation where our group is a little bit larger than most.
Yeah. Compared to ours, yeah,
and well, compared to pretty much any of them from what we've seen. But so for us, it does become a complicating factor at times. So we get in the habit of asking, well, how do you deal with this? Because we're looking for like maybe another way to. But we've done pretty good. I mean, to maintain our numbers, people get along, and we've done a pretty good job of making sure everyone gets along.
I think we're old enough and smart enough to put our differences aside for a little while we're at the game.
Yeah, table. A lot of that too does come with the maturity. I mean, I think the youngest person in our group is 41, 42?
36, isn't it?
36. We got us a whippersnapper.
Oh yeah, 36. Yeah, we have a kid at 36.
It's acceptance too, I think, really. It's what, and that's what makes I think that's what makes friendship last decades. It's you don't expect something of your friend that they can't deliver, and you accept them for who they are. And we have a lot of vastly different political and social views, vastly in our group, and we're still friends. We still love each other. We still get together and have a good time at the gaming table. We accept the people for who they are, not based on their political beliefs or their
exactly
or our expectations of what they should be like.
Yeah,
we take them for who they are. Our expectations of somebody else means nothing as far as as far as friends come. It's like this is who you are. Oh yeah, I'll accept the way you are.
I mean, again, when you guys told us how big your table was, I was amazed. I was just amazed that you were able to tell stories that just didn't go off the rails. But I guess with age comes maturity, or you'd hope.
Not always.
No. It's trial and error.
It's in some cases some trial and error, but I mean, again, with us, it's a little bit easier because we have a smaller group of people, and like I said, I've known Jared and I've known Brian for well over 2 decades at this point. I mean, the longer you know someone, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to fit in and kind of make something. If you've known someone that long, you probably have a good relationship with them outside of the gaming table.
And you already know their foibles, and you've already worked around them.
And you accepted them too.
Yep.
Yeah, crafting a game for them might be a different issue, but that's that's a whole separate topic.
That's a podcast in itself.
Well, what else you got?
That is it. That's the end.
I think we pretty much hit all the points. I think you guys are fantastic. We had an absolute blast talking to you guys. We had a blast being on yours, and thank you for coming on our podcast.
We really enjoyed coming here. We enjoyed having you on our podcast. We hope we get to do something again with you guys sometime.
That would be great.
We have to make a commitment, I think, and it doesn't have to be tomorrow or next month, but to get together and enjoy a game together. And
I think that is definitely something we should do.
Or a Ren Fair.
Or a Ren Fair.
Just so we
know about medieval clothing.
Whatever they have those again.
Well, he can watch some of Scott's favorite movies.
Well, yes, we can watch some of Scott's favorite movies.
Hawk the Slayer.
Let's say Hawk the Slayer.
Hawk the Slayer, it's just
don't watch
Crawl.
Yeah.
Never even heard of it.
Oh.
These are your B- movies.
One of the things we did for several years is try to find some of these interesting interpretations of fantasy movies. And
Cinema Gold,
yes, and see who come up with the one that was the worst of the B movies. I am still not allowed to bring Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but but yeah, there's a massive library out there of really bad, fantastic movies.
Yeah,
that everyone would just start bringing. We'd spend an entire evening watching these things.
A non-gaming thing we do is we do bad zombie horror movies.
Yeah,
we find the worst of the worst. When Blockbuster was a thing, we used to go to Blockbuster and shop the shelves to find 2 or 3 that we could watch for game film, is what we called it. So.
Yep.
Blockbuster was a gold mine for bad movies. It was
miss it. I miss
promised
it.
land.
I loved it when the one by us was closing up. When they're shutting down the chain, I walked in with a friend of mine, and we bought the entire anime section.
Nice.
Yes, they're so cheap at that point.
And we paid something like 15 cents a video, DVD. Actually, they're all DVDs. And we bought the entire aisle.
Well, that was $1,000 back in those days, but that was quality VHS.
Hey, don't knock my VHS player.
I still have one too.
Let's get together and game one of these days, and when all this COVID BS is over, we still go away for a week.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll definitely. When the COVID stuff ends, we'll plan a trip. We'll come meet you guys.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you will receive an invitation packet for the week getaway.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
I'm excited. You made a promise. Now I'm going to keep it.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And that's our Halloween special. Special thanks to our good friends, Aaron and Jared, from the Level Up Your Gaming podcast for joining us. Check them out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a host of other platforms. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Go check them out. Our Halloween special wouldn't be the same without you guys. Thanks again for coming.
Thanks, guys.
See you next week in the dojo. Thanks, guys.
That's going to conclude this episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Please subscribe to the podcast for more great content. If you'd like to hear a particular topic, you can reach us on Facebook at the Dungeon Masters Dojo, or you can drop us an email at thedungeonmastersdojo@gmail.com. Thank you, and have a good day.